All right. So, hey, this is a pretty exciting time in our yearly schedule, eh?
Yeah. Well, the crunch is on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's beginning of August.
Yeah.
We love doing comps and scale trucking. Yeah. So, I guess it's 13 days. We got to go to
the count is on. Yeah.
East Coast Scale Challenge, which is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I think I'm more excited than you.
Well, there's a few hurdles in which we've got to get. I've got to get done in order to be excited. But I'm excited, and it's coming. And as we said, the crunch is on. And this is going to be round 2 for us, right?
That's right.
This is a second go, so I'm looking forward to it. I know what to expect, and it should be rather exciting.
This year, we're actually finally going to do a scoring video.
Yeah.
So this show is actually to talk about score sheets. And everybody who's going to East Coast Scale Challenge just got a notice from John in the last couple of days with a link for the score sheet. And basically, what we're going to do here today is we're going to go through the Class 2 truck and the Class 1 truck, and we're going to score the trucks based on what's on the sheet here, so that when you get to tech to run your course, you've got your sheet in hand, your armor's on, you're ready to go, and the poor guy at the tech who's donating his time to the cause doesn't have to try to reschool you on how to fill out a score sheet. So the first time we did this, there was a lot of ambiguity. Remember that?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there was kind of like, does this qualify as a second row seat? Does it not? What do I do with my sliders? Do I get points for having what kind of springs I have on the truck? And so is my bumper legal? That's a big one. I hear that one all the time.
Sure.
Do I get points for having my interior details? And the list goes on. Excuse me. So we're gonna go through it because you all have to go through it before you go to tech, and we might as well do it together. So here we go.
Okay, great.
I want to also make a mention that Class 2, which is what I'm going to run with the red Jeep, Class 2 maxes out at 50 points. If you come up with a minus 50 on your score sheet and you have more, great. You can have more if you want, but at 50 points you're cut off. That's it. On Class 1, you have a 60-point maximum. If you get to 60 points, it's a real good head start on your run.
So these are scale points, correct?
These are scale points.
Right, so, having certain items on the vehicle. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And why is that a benefit? Well, what happens is when you're going to a SORRCA event, link below for the rules and all that stuff, when you go to a SORRCA event, the courses are timed.
Yeah.
So you have time bonus or penalties. If you go overtime, then then you're done.
Right.
So after the clock buzzer goes, the judge says time out, then you're done.
And last year, what was it, 8 minutes?
It was around 8. The courses were about 8 minutes. They set up the time based on the course is, what you can do in the course.
Right.
And I thought it was quite reasonable, but you had to really keep going.
Yeah, it was, not only were you, as you said, challenged with the course, but you were also challenged with the clock, right?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you take a reverse, that's a point against you. Mm-hmm. If you're winching, that's 3 points against you. These are the kind of rules that SORRCA uses for scoring your actual driving. So what happens is, let's say I do a reverse and a winch.
Right.
Then I'm getting 4 points.
Correct.
But my rig is already at
plus 50 or
minus 50.
Right, minus 50.
So now my run is at 46.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It's at a minus 46. If I pass all 10 gates in the course, 10 progress markers, then I get points for that as well. So, you could have a run that never actually gets to 0.
Right.
So the more points you have on scale points on this score sheet,
up to a maximum.
To the maximum of 50 or 60, that's a huge head start.
Sure.
Which is the reason why we're doing all this, right?
Correct.
You can bring out your honcho, put it on there, right, RTR. You might get a maximum of like 5 or 6 points, or minus 5 or 6 points for a stock honcho because of a couple of gear in the back, some accessories or something.
Sure, right.
Plastic sliders. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to be running against trucks that are actually at the minus 50, 60 points mark, so they got a way bigger head start on you than you do when you show up with a Honcho or a stock Jeep or something like that from Axial.
Well, it's almost like they encourage you to put the scale points on. I mean, in order to be competitive, you really need to show up with a scale-looking rig, of course, and all the accessories that come with it. And you really want to max out your points.
Max.
Yeah, for sure.
If you can, then max it out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's a good head start.
Yeah.
In smart ways, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, we're going to score this here Blazer right now.
Okay.
And walk through every line on the sheet. And you guys remember this truck? This is the truck that you've seen in a whole bunch of the Scale Garage videos. We've talked about it on a rig review. The truck's been used at East Coast Scale Challenge last year. It's just a workhorse, and it's all there, and it's ready to go. And
yeah, it's my comp truck. It's the one that sees a lot of the wear and tear, of course, and of course it reflects that, but it looks mean, so I like it.
I love it. And the performance is amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we're going to start at the top of the sheet.
Where can we get these sheets?
Link below.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Great.
This sheet can be had from for this event, for East Coast Scale Challenge. I'll put the link down below for where you can get this sheet. This is the score sheet for East Coast Scale Challenge. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. So, we're going to go through this. At the top it says bed. Two bed. It's talking about trucks that have an actual bed in the back. We don't. So, on this truck. So, because it's an SUV style, right? So, there is no pickup bed. So, for the bed, if you have a tube bed or a flat bed, you can have metal and get 3 points off. If it's plastic, you get 1 point off. If you have a bed-mounted headache rack or the roll bar that's actually in the truck bed, you can get a -2 for metal, -1 for plastic on that. So in our case, we're not doing that, so it doesn't really apply. But the point is, that's if you've got a Chevy, a C10,
right,
like you've built.
Yep.
Then your C10 could have a roll bar in the back, and this is where you would collect points for that, okay?
Yep.
The second line is truggy back half truck. So let's say you've got your rail, your ladder frame goes all the way past the cab, okay? And that is absolutely important because, as it says on the score sheet, a scale truck has to have a rail frame.
Yeah.
See this?
Yeah.
This is a cross canyon here that I'm working on for my giant Ford.
Yeah.
This frame is a scale frame truck rail. An SCX would do it. Vitera Ascender would do it. A G-Made Jeep would do it. So you need a frame rail, and it has to go from the front of the bumper all the way past the rear axle. Mm-hmm. After that, you can put tube work or whatever you want to make a tuber, but you got to have a rail that goes all the way from the front bumper right to the rear axle.
Well, and it really
Minimum.
is the essence of the vehicle, right? Like if you get into something real trick, then you're really getting away from what we're trying to do.
You're getting away from scale truck.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of scale trucking is that you end up with a vehicle in some way, shape, form, body style, setup that resembles some kind of a legitimate, real, trail-worthy or road-worthy vehicle, right?
I mean, with the rails you're hanging all your suspension, it's very similar to the one-to-ones. I mean,
that's the way they're made.
Yeah.
So, if you have a back half truck, you get points for that for metal or plastic tube work in the back. That's the second line. We're not in that situation, so we're not going to score that. Tuber, again, this is where you're getting into class 3, where you're getting away from the rail frame. You're getting into full tube chassis and such like that. All kinds of tube work that goes all just to the cab. Still need a rail frame to the cab. But then it doesn't have to go all the way to the rear axle. So we're not doing tuber either.
No.
We're just scoring class 1. So, excuse me, interior cage. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Now, interior cage or exo cage, you get points for this, right? In your case, you built a cage inside there to protect your driver's cabin.
That's right.
And what material did you use?
Styrene.
Okay, so that's a plastic cage.
Yep.
And your plastic cage work would get you -1 for plastic.
Correct.
-3 if it was metal.
Yep.
You get -1 point for plastic per row of seats. So what they're expecting you to do is have a seat and then some kind of cage work, metal or plastic, that protects that row of seats. Okay, here's an example right here. This is my Class 2, and you've got the row of seats here, the front row.
Yeah.
And then you've got this metal cage work on the Jeep that goes around the seats. It goes around the back of the seat. This is the cage that's actually going to protect this row of people. Okay, that's the whole focus of that. So, in your case, you've got, where are we? You've got -3, you've got one row of seats, -1 is plastic, so you're going to actually score a -1 for your cage work here. Okay?
Yay for me.
And it says here very clearly the cage must have down bars
Yeah.
and cross bars
Correct.
in front and behind each row. So they're expecting you to actually capture the entire row of seats. Okay, so I've got down bars in the front that bolt right into here. I've got the top bar, I've got the riser in the back, the crossbar. That's what they're expecting to see. And if you don't have all that, then you've just got a nice looking interior accessory that isn't going to give you any points. It's very clear. So make sure you read the score sheet to make sure your cage applies. Okay, we're done with the cage. Tube accessories is the next line. Sliders are a really common tube accessory, and you've got them on here.
Yes, I do.
So turn that upside down and show us what you've done there.
This here, of course, is our slider. This is a stock axial item. What I've done is I've sort of trimmed it so that it doesn't flare out beyond the body, just for a look, but still sort of qualifies for a slider. So that's my version, plastic. I'm not sure how that scores. Is that a -1 or -3 or?
So sliders on both sides.
Yeah.
In plastic will get you -1.
Okay.
So you get a -1 for those two.
Sure.
And you know, there's nothing wrong with those.
Nope.
You don't need to go to steel. The plastic kind of slides better sometimes.
Sure.
And those were like, how long did they take you to make up? Like maybe 15 minutes or something?
And they came with the kit, so.
And they go on the SCX rail that he's using. I mean, this is so easy, right?
Yeah.
So there's your -1 right away. If you got integrated tube shock mounts, integrated tube shock mounts, you get -1 per pair of shock mounts.
Mm-hmm.
So they're integrated into the frame, and you've made up some tube shock mounts. If you have metal or plastic, then you have options there. You can do -1 or -2 for metal. So we don't have metal shock mounts.
No.
They're not. We don't have any of that, so they don't score. No. Now, body. Hard body and Lexan and full custom bodies and tuber bodies, they're all scored differently, and they're all listed right here on the sheet in the body section. So
and they sort of fall into a different class, correct?
yes, of course, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. If you're running a Class 3 and you're using a Wraith tube cage with all the body panel work, then that scores as something completely different than it does if you've got, you know, a hard body like this shell or a Lexan shell. So first of all, hard body can be full, complete hard body like this. Okay? The whole body is there. It's all the same material. It's hard body from front to back. So that will get you a -8 points. If you have, if you have a tuber or whatever, and you're using a hard body for the front half and a tuber for the rear, then you get half the points. You get a hard body points. Full is -8, and half the cab or just half a body is -4. So in your case, you've got a Lexan lid, so you're not going to get hard body points.
And you get more for hard body, of course.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're building a truck, you can get dropped bed points. So this is a really contested question. A lot of people ask this question, well, you know, my Blazer has a full dropped interior all the way to the back of the gate.
Which it does.
Which it does. All the way to the frame rail. It's a full dropped interior.
Right.
So does that mean that I get drop bed points? The answer is no.
No.
Because this is not a pickup truck. Okay? If this was a C10 and you had the full pickup in the tail, or a K10 I should say, that for four-wheel drive, then you would have a pickup bed and it would be dropped, and then you would get the points for drop bed.
Makes
but
sense.
that's not a bed, it's not a pickup truck. So no, you don't get the points for that. Complete custom built body. So, you know, Metal Masher's making these metal bodies, right? So not only is he getting hard body points, he's also getting complete custom body points, which is another -4. Or if it's just the cab, -2. And so that's a real stack in his advantage, right?
And,
I mean,
it makes great stuff, eh?
oh, that stuff's incredible. So
It's
link
amazing.
below for Metal
Oh,
Masher.
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's the guy's actually making complete metal bodies. They're just incredible.
Yeah.
So you get big time points. Excuse me for doing that. And the last thing on the body list is inner fenders. So if you got inner fender wells, you get 1 point minus for each row. So for each axle. So in the front you've got an inner fender. In the rear you've got an inner fender. So in your case you're doing -2 there.
And I know that they encourage you not to show any wires or
Oh,
what have
yeah.
you, right? So
Right.
there's a great opportunity to get those tucked in behind the wheel wells.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, right? If you're going to do an inner fender, not only is it going to look better, but it's going to cover all your goo in there.
Yeah.
And they have a practical advantage too, right? I mean, when you're flinging mud, trying to get up a rocky slope or whatever, and you don't get all that dirt in your...
Or moisture, because they're going to be wet, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's real practical reasons for doing inner fenders.
Yep.
So in your case, you get them in the front and the back because you've got inner fenders for both. Okay? And then the next line is bumpers. Really important stuff to know about bumpers because in Class 1, your bumper has to be as wide as the windshield pillar.
That's right.
Okay? So, all bumpers have to be mounted to the frame unless they're actually formed into the body.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
If you have a body that actually has a bumper molded right in the body, then that still qualifies.
And you just got your Ford. I think it's in our background.
Yep.
And they're molded to the body, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So in that case, the bumpers are there. It's a legitimate bumper.
Sure.
Everybody can see that.
Sure.
But it does happen to be part of the body.
Right.
Okay? So in this case, bumpers have to be chassis mounted and separate from the body. Okay? For SORRCA rules, that's how they've set it up. And my truck won't qualify. I won't get bumper points for this rig right here because the bumpers are not separate from the body. They're not mounted to the chassis, so I'm not going to get the points for that. Okay, well, so what? That's fine. That's SORRCA rules. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And in your case, you've mounted all of your bumpers right to the frame.
Correct.
And you're getting full Class 1 points because your front bumper in Class 1 has to be as wide as the bumper, as the windshield post to get points.
Yeah.
You've got that. Now,
Material?
yeah, they talk about having a metal bumper as a 3-point deduction. This is all steel.
Yep.
Yeah, and rusty, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
So you get 3 points for the front bumper because it's metal, -3. And on your back bumper, you have a full width back bumper as well. Show that off.
Yep.
Which is plastic, right?
Yep.
So then if you have a plastic bumper, you get a -1. So you're actually getting 4 points off
Right.
for having your chassis mounted bumpers. And good for you.
Yeah.
And they look awesome.
Yeah, they do. Again, scale. Looks good. Functional. Works for me.
Now, Class 2, if you're scoring a Class 2 right now, that's a little bit different because in Class 2, you only need to have your bumper as wide as the frame. Okay? So, if I took off these side parts here that are tube work, this would still be a Class 2 bumper. I left them on because I kind of like it like that. It looks a little better.
Sure.
It protects my hard body a little better. But in Class 2, you only need to have the bumper as wide as the frame. Okay? Now, you might ask, here's a cross canyon setup for instance. This part here on the servo mount is flat. It goes all the way across the front of the frame. It's as wide as the frame. So, can I use this as to qualify as a bumper?
No.
No, you can't. That's a servo mount, people. This is not a bumper. If you're going to have a bumper on the front, you're going to have to add some kind of piece of metal or plastic out the front to cover over the servo mount to make an actual frame-mounted bumper. This is not a bumper, and it won't qualify.
No.
If you have an SCX frame and you take out the bumper from the bumper posts, and then you still have that bracket in the front, that does not qualify as a bumper. So, you need an actual legitimate bumper on the truck. Class 2 has to be as wide as the rail. Class 1 has to be as wide as the windshield. So, your bumper scoring is there. And then as far as bumpers go, you actually get an extra point bonus if you've got a stinger or a grill guard. Let's have a look at that. We got both of those here on the bench today.
Yep.
So, here's a grill guard. Okay? this isn't really sticking out very far. It wouldn't really qualify as a stinger, but it's definitely a grill guard. It goes up in front of the grill here. It protects all of the trees, brush, rocks,
Impacts,
whatever,
yeah.
impact from the grill. This is a grill guard,
Yep.
so you're going to get a point for that.
All right.
Yeah! And this, of course, on my Class 2 is an obvious stinger,
Sure.
right? It's not even anywhere near the grill.
No.
I've got my full bumper on here, and I've got a stinger, so I'm going to get my metal bumper points
Yep.
and my stinger points. So there you go. And in your case, you're already at -5 just on the bumpers. Good job.
Thank you.
So it's worth it. You see what happened right there?
Yeah.
He made the effort to put a metal bumper on it and a little grill guard. It looks awesome, but
Yeah.
that right there was 4 points.
Perfect.
And all it was a bumper.
There we go.
That's a good idea. The next line is exterior roof rack and light bar. Have you got a roof rack?
No.
Have you got a light bar?
No.
Okay.
How many points do I get?
None.
Okay. Fair enough.
Neither do I. I don't have a
Yeah.
roof rack or a
No.
light bar.
No.
So if you do, it's pretty clear there. If you got a metal roof rack or plastic, you get -2 or -1.
Okay.
If you have a roof rack, a light bar on top, it has to be metal to get a -1. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Works for me.
We don't have that.
No.
Interior. This is where the fun starts,
Sure does.
and you can start really piling on the points here because the interior details is really important in the SORRCA scene, in the scale truck scene. They want you to make an effort to put an interior in the truck. You have a whole bunch of options here. You can do a 3D interior, which means, how do I say this? Any 3D interior is going to have a floor, a seat,
Mm-hmm.
separate from that,
Mm-hmm.
and a dash, and door panels. Okay, this is what a 3D interior looks like. It's like you've got the entire pocket of interior with a separate seat. Okay, this is a 3D interior, and it has a dashboard on it of some
Sure.
variety. This is what they're looking for 3D interior. You can have 1 row of seats, or 2 rows of seats, or 3 rows of seats, whichever you want, and you actually get bonus points for having added rows of seats. So the bigger and more scale and more awesome your interior is on detail, the
Sure.
more points you're going to get, and you can really pack them on when it comes to the interior stuff. So if you have a 3D interior and you have 1 seat, you get a -3. Do you have seats?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do. Which means seating for 1 bum.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
If you have 2 seats or a bench,
Which in my case I have a bench.
which you have a bench,
Yeah.
then you have a 2 bum seat.
Right.
And a 2 bum seat will actually score you -4 points. 2 bums in the front, you get a -4. So we're going to give you that right there. Excuse me. You have a full 3D interior, so we're scoring on the 3D line.
Right.
There's a 2D, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yep.
Do you have any extra rows of seats?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
Well, if you did, you would get another point
For each bum or each row?
for the rows.
Okay.
So, if you have a single bum seat, you get -3 points. 3 points just for putting a seat. 3 points. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Make an effort, guys. This is
Yeah.
what SORRCA's trying to say.
And that's where you can get really creative too.
Yep.
I find that of course you've got your shell and put your paint scheme and stuff, but you can really get into some detailed work when you get into the interiors. And with this vehicle in particular, it was my first attempt at a lot of styrene work and a lot of custom stuff when it came to the interior. And it's amazing what you can do out there, and it was a lot of fun.
When you guys come down to East Coast Scale Championship, come to the GCM tent and have a look at this truck because the interior on this thing is amazing. And I know he's saying this is my first interior attempt and stuff, but like seriously, the work that he did in here, it's not extremely complicated.
No.
But the way that it's laid out and the way that it accents the truck is just amazing. You have to see what he did in here, and he's getting big points for it. So,
Thanks.
1 bum, you get -3 points.
Yep.
3 points, that's a lot. If you got 2 bums, you get -4. If you got 4 bums, you get -5. Okay, so that's all listed right there. And they give you the clarification, a 3D interior has to have a seat, a dash, a steering wheel, a floor, okay?
All common sense.
All common sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
And remember how we were talking about the pickup bed?
Yep.
And this is not a pickup bed?
No.
Well, now because it's a closed truck like an SUV, like a Jeep, like a Blazer, like a Bronco,
Yeah.
like a Defender, these kinds of trucks with closed-in interiors, they get an extra point off for having a 3D SUV cargo area. This is where you score that. So in your case, you've got a floor, fender wells, side panels, rear panel. That's a 3D cargo area, and you get an extra point off for that.
And those cargo areas are fantastic for piling on the points, because then that's where you're adding all those little things, coolers and so on and so forth, that really sort of set the vehicle off, and you can gain some points that way too.
Yep. It's a great place to hold your other scale items.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Spare tires, whatever. So, if you have a Dingo style interior, or a JK Rubicon style interior, or an Axial G6 style interior, that's called a 2D interior. And the reason is because although it kind of looks like it has a floor, it kind of has seats, kind of has a dash, kind of has all that, it's all one piece. It's kind of like a half interior. It only comes up to about here.
Yeah.
You don't get the interior down to the frame rails. That's a 2D interior, and you can still get good scoring points for that, right? A 2D half interior will give you a point for one seat, 2 points for 2 seats, 3 points for 4 seats. So, you know, you're getting some good help there at all already. You don't get the 3D points for a full depth interior. You don't get the extra point for having a 3D cargo area. But it's a good idea.
Sure.
So,
is. And it's again, I think they encourage it.
oh yeah.
I mean, thanks for the compliment about the Blazer, but some of the stuff that was there last year was unreal.
Oh my
And
goodness.
there is some stiff competition. I mean, it is a top-notch scale event, and some of the stuff is just incredible. I was wowed last year for sure.
Oh boy.
Mhm.
Now, the final thing to go into the interior, of course, is drivers and passengers.
Yeah.
You do not get a point for bringing your dog in your interior. It looks cool to put your dog in there, but your pet fish or whatever other pet you want to put in there, you don't get points for pets.
Didn't we see a pig in an interior
Pigs.
last year?
Pigs. There was
I think we
a
did.
pig
In an interior. No
in
names.
the interior.
Yeah.
You know who you are. If you watch this, you're now feeling guilty.
Yeah, so we want a female or a male sort of concept in the interior when it comes to a driver.
Realistic scale human figures do not include 600-pound waist-up wrestlers.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? They want realistic scale human figures.
Mhm.
So please do not try to put a guy in there who is the wrong scale for your truck. Put the proper scale guy into your truck. Okay? They're not that hard to find.
No.
You can even find a wrestler guy who's the right scale, but
Yeah.
at least put a guy in there that's the right scale.
Yeah, it looks like it should be there, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want the guy's head to be the whole size of the interior, you know what I mean? Because you couldn't find a guy that was small enough.
We don't want to get into cartoonish kind of concept. This
Yeah.
again, we're going back to, a driver that should be in a real small little scale truck.
There's a lot of easy places to find guys.
Yeah.
Like this guy, he's from where?
Well, he's that the Bruiser, right? The Tamiya Bruiser. I think RC 4-wheel drive also has a
They
version
sell
of
a
it.
guy?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think they're mirrors of each other. I think this one actually was from RC 4-wheel drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even RC 4-wheel drive sells a knees-up guy.
Yeah.
He's got knees, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He's a knees-up guy.
Yeah.
From the knees down is missing. That's fine.
Mhm.
But a knees-up guy is minus 3 points.
Right.
If you had 2 knees-up guys, you'd have minus 6 points in the front seat. 6 points for 2 knees-up characters in the front seat. I mean, that's worth it, guys. This little plastic dude doesn't weigh very much.
No.
He's right central weight on the body. And you're going to get 6 points for having a couple of knees-up characters in there that are realistic.
Sure.
That is so worth it. That's a huge amount of points.
And I mean, I know there's a lot of trucks out there and buses and so on that don't have drivers, but I think it's part of it. I think all my vehicles have to have a driver. It just goes with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it looks better in pictures and
Yeah.
video. And
Yep.
you've seen some of my videos on the channel here where there was no driver and it kind of looks weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry about that, by the way. I'll fix them soon.
It
I
happens.
promise.
It happened.
So, if you're going to put realistic human figures, you get extra points for having the big guy. You get less points for having less of a guy, okay? So, if you've got complete human figures, which means head and shoulders, knees and toes, okay? I mean everything.
Yeah.
Here's a guy right here,
Right.
okay? This guy right here, and this chick right here. Sorry, both of these they've got head and shoulders, knees and toes. They're all connected.
And again, as mine's knees up.
Your guy is missing his knees down.
That's correct.
So because of the interior space, sometimes you can't do that.
Sure.
Sometimes you cannot get the guy's legs all the way in, and if you got to chop off his legs from the knees down, then you get one less point.
Yeah, that's all I had. So.
And it fits perfect, and it looks really, really good in the interior. So this is really important, guys. You make just a little effort, right? So when you're building your interior, think about that. You can get 3D points for just dropping the floor a little bit, so you have a separate seat, and then you can get an extra point for the driver just having knees on the guy. Important. In your case, you've got knees up guy, which is a -3. There's only one person in the front seat, so you get -3 for one guy. If you had a waist up, because you have a short interior or whatever, if you had a waist up guy, no knees, you get 2 points. If you had just a head with arms, you get 1 point. If you want to add, that's for the front seat, for each person in the front seat.
And the head with arms, we're getting into that sort of 2D concept.
You would be able to do that with something like a Dingo interior or a Dinky RC flat panel interior or something like that, okay? So if that's all your truck will allow for space, take the effort to put a half a guy in there because you'll get some points. If you have a second row of seats and you want to add a couple kids in the back or extra passengers, you get points for them too. You only get 1 point for each of the people in the back for third and fourth people. But it's worth it if you need extra points. There you go. Drop them in. And now we're going to move to suspension and drivetrain. And this is where a lot of guys tend to have big scoring points on a scale truck because, flip that over and we'll find out why.
Sure.
Suspension and drivetrain is a big, big deal on a scale truck, okay? The first line that it talks about here in the tech sheet is leaf springs front and rear. Have you got any leaf springs?
I do.
One axle of leaf spring is 3 points off. So I'll score you -3.
Thank you.
If you had both axles in leaf springs, like a TF2 or a G-Made Jeep, you don't just get 3 + 3. You actually get a bonus point for having double axle leaf, and you get 7 points for double axle leaf. That is a huge kick in the pants in the points department. So the idea is that a coil spring truck may have better articulation, a little bit better rocks control, a little bit more travel, and so a coil spring truck might be able to perform a little better than a leaf spring truck. And so if you have a leaf spring truck, they're giving you a major bonus to give you a little chance on in the driving, just because there's going to be some less travel and less articulation.
Now there is a strategy to building your truck. For example, you not only want to maximize your points, but you also want to perform well at the event, right? So there is a strategy to build your truck. And for example, I've got leaf in the back. Again, the real vehicle I would believe would have leaf in the back. So not only stock and scale, but good points. Yet if you look in the front here, I've gone to a link suspension setup. Again, that's not necessarily stock, but I'm now wanting to be a little bit more competitive in the competition.
Right.
So, and that goes with everything. That goes with what accessories you use, the bumpers, in class 2, whether you want them to look a little more scale or you want them to be a little bit more competitive. And there's a strategy in building it. And so this is the reason why I've come up with this. This is working based on what I want, based on, the look and feel I'm going for, and based on competition. And so there is a bit of a strategy, and that's what you're seeing in front of you.
And so this is a half and half, right? Leaf in the rear, coil in the front. The performance was amazing.
Not bad.
And here's 3 points for leaf. You don't get points for having coils. You get points for having leaf spring. So we're going to give you a -3 on the score sheet for your rear leafs. Multiple axles, we don't have any multi-axle trucks here, so this is like if you have 3 driven axles or 4 driven axles, you get bonus points for those. Chassis mounted steering servo, this is key, big, giant points, okay? Get the servo off of your SCX axle, now. Take it off now. Go get a Panhard kit and a CMS kit from they're all over the place. You can get them at Blue Monkey, you can get them at Vanquish, you can get them at GCM, you can get them all over the place. Get your servo on the frame because that is 5 points. 5 points
That's
just
huge.
for putting the servo on the frame.
Yeah.
That's it. Get it off of the SCX axle. Think about that when you're putting your truck together, because servo mounted frame is a huge deal when you're building. Okay, 5 points. You got that, obviously.
Yep.
If you're doing a class 3 where you have rear steer, you can have a frame mounted servo in the back as well. And if that's your case, you get an extra 2 points for that. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
SORRCA rules care about this issue. Do you have a functional transfer case?
I do.
Yeah. 4 points.
Perfect.
4 points for having a transfer case.
Right under here.
4 points, people. That's huge.
Yeah.
If you have the ability to build a 3D engine, they're giving you another huge 4 points for putting an actual scale engine in the front of the truck.
Which I don't.
Which you don't.
No.
I don't have any room in the front of my trucks for a
No.
scale engine.
No.
But you could. If you did, you'd get a whopping huge 4 points just for having a scale engine in the front.
Now we do have an engine in the front, but it's an electric motor.
Little different.
Yep.
Scored a little different.
Yeah. But works well when it comes to competing with the vehicle.
Yep.
Throw
When you-
some weight up
that's
front,
right.
So on and so forth.
When you're talking
Again,
about,
that's the give and take, right?
it's the functional balance. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
You're right on top of that.
Yep.
So you kind of build them to spec.
Yep.
With performance in mind.
Yep.
If you built a truck for maximum points, you may have performance issues.
Correct.
If you don't, you can have a really nice balance. I mean, this truck is an incredible performer, so that just goes to show. Okay, we're done with the suspension, drivetrain, steering, so let's have a look now at realistic exterior items.
Okay.
Okay? You can get a maximum of 6 points off of your score for these kinds of things. You don't have to have them all, but you need some of them, and you can only have a maximum of 6 off. So let's say you pick 6 of these items, you put them on your truck, you get your 6 points. They are these following things: fuel cell, so there's -1. Exhaust,
Yep.
-1.
Yep.
Jerry can,
No.
no jerry can, doesn't matter. There's
Yep.
lots more.
Yep.
Hubs on all wheels.
Yep.
Well, that was easy.
Yep.
You get a point just for putting hubs on it. Steering stabilizer. Nope.
Nope.
Disc and drum brakes on all 4 wheels.
Yep.
Yep, you got disc brakes on all 4 wheels. That's a -1. Excuse me. Mirrors, 2 mirrors.
Got him.
You got 2 mirrors on the truck. That's another -1. Have you got wipers? 2 wipers.
Got him.
2 wipers. You get a -1 for that. Have you got an antenna?
I do.
Hey, antenna, -1. Have you got a license plate?
I do.
Holy moly, -1 for license plate. Have you got a fire extinguisher?
Yes, I do. In the interior, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's acceptable.
Okay.
So -1 for fire extinguisher. Trail tools such as a jack.
Yes. Big blue one in the back.
There's your jack in the back, -1.
Yep.
Other kinds of scale accessories, like we're talking maybe.
I've got a shovel.
Okay.
I've got
Yep.
a battery. I've got some pylons.
Okay. It's all good.
Yep. And of course, I don't know if we've mentioned, I've got a spare tire in the back.
That's coming.
Yep. Okay. That's what I've got.
Okay.
Oh, and I got a toolbox.
And a toolbox.
Yep.
So those are all exterior items that are non-functional, but you would see on a trail truck. All that stuff you would see on a trail truck, right? Everybody brings tools, jack, all that kind of stuff. You need exhaust on the truck. Those are non-functional but exterior accessories. Now, you can have a maximum of 6 off. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can see how easy that is, okay?
Sure.
It's not hard to put wipers and mirrors and antenna and license plates on it and exhaust on a truck, and there's your points. Boom, right there, you're maxed out. So the rest of that stuff is just because you want it to be awesome,
Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Make it look good.
which it is,
Thank you.
by the way. So, we're going to move on to the last item on the list, which is functional items. We just
Okay.
talked about non-functional items
Yep.
that are on the truck. Now we're going to talk about functional items, And in the functional item section, you can go up to 8 points instead of 6. So they put a little more emphasis in the SORRCA rules about having functional items on than they do non-functional scale items. So, functional items, toe strap.
Yes.
There's one in there?
Oh. No.
Okay.
No.
No toe strap.
No toe strap.
D-ring.
I think I've got a couple in the front.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are built right into the bumper.
Yep.
You can get them as add-ons as well, but those qualify as D-rings.
Yep.
So, you get a -1 for D-ring.
Thank you.
Pull pal.
Pull pal.
That's a functional scale item.
Yeah.
And,
Sorry.
oh man, this is the handiest thing ever.
Oh, it's a must.
If you have a look at my video that I just put out, I'll link below, for my shakedown run of my Class 2. In the shakedown run, I made use of that pull pal up in a rock crevice 6 feet up, and I winched it straight up 6 feet. It's amazing. That thing, you gotta have a pull pal that's the steel welded version. Don't bother with the brazed ones or the bent ones or the glued ones. They're not gonna last.
Yeah.
Get a pull pal that's small, pointy, and welded 100% steel. Can't recommend that enough. That thing is, and Dana and I both have the pull pal tied directly onto the winch line. There's no extra hook or anything because that's all you need, man.
Sure.
Pull pal is everything.
It's a must.
It's a must. So you get a point for that.
Great.
Sand ladders.
No.
Okay, could have had one.
Yeah.
Trailer hitch in the back. No, there's no hitch.
No.
Could have had one.
Yeah.
Opening doors and hood.
No.
Okay. Spare tire mount.
Yep.
The spare tire, but there's no spare tire mount.
No, correct.
Yeah, they're talking about like a
Yeah.
bumper trunk mounted or something like that.
Right.
So no point for that.
Okay.
You get one each for those. Headlights. You got 2 headlights?
Sure do.
And they work, of course. This
Yep.
is functional items now.
Yep. There's a night crawl there too, right?
Oh,
Or
yeah, there's
nighttime
a-
event. So,
Oh yeah, there's a night crawl and the
you know,
lights are
show
cool.
up with some LEDs behind these headlights because they.
Yep.
Yeah, looks cool at night.
So we got 2 headlights. You need 2 headlights to get 1 point. You got 2 taillights.
Sure do.
Yep. Now because this body was already painted, the taillights are not actually in the lens. They're on the bumper right here, and that qualifies. So you're going to get -2 for those.
Thank you.
Functional scale items. Have you got a winch?
I do.
You certainly do.
Yep. Right out here, up and over.
Yep. And his winch is actually in behind the bumper on the frame rail.
Yep.
And then it comes through the fair lead, and it's fully functional.
Yep.
So you get -2 for having a winch.
And you need one.
And in this East Coast Scale Challenge, guys,
Don't show
you
up
need
with
a
one.
winch.
Yeah.
You need a winch. If you have a toe strap or something, that's okay too, but you need a winch. If you have a winch in the back, you get 2 extra points for having a winch in the back as well. Do you have a functional winch in the back?
I do not.
Okay. You have a non-functional winch,
Correct.
but that doesn't matter because it's not scoring here anyways.
Right.
So you get -2 for the front winch. Do you have a full-size spare tire?
I do.
Now, what qualifies as a full-size spare is -3. You've got it in the bed.
Yeah.
In the cargo area.
Yeah.
A full-size spare does not have to be the same tire, but it has to be the same tire size. Okay? Like this. Okay, this could have been the spare from this truck. It's a 1.9. He's got a 1.9 wheel on there. It's the same size of tire, so this could be called a functional spare.
This is not.
This is not a functional spare. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thanks.
We're going back about 30 years there for a second, but
we're monster trucking now.
yeah, that was the first Stampede tire.
Was it?
Yeah,
Wow.
very first Stampede tire.
Anyways.
They were terrible. So, you got a functional spare. You're allowed a maximum of -8 points in this category in functional scale items. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You've already got 9, so you're maxed out. So you get a -6 for this max. You get a -8 for this max. Now, what you do is you add up all the points. So what I did is I wrote these down here. I started scoring all the way down for the Class 1 right here. I scored his truck all the way down. And then I'm going to write Blazer on top so I don't forget which truck we used. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
In this, we
2, 3,
judge
4, 5,
ourselves,
6,
or
7,
we
8,
do
9,
you know, we sort of go through the vehicle, check ourselves, show up saying, here's where we're at. We don't necessarily get there and then let the, you know, the judge or the marshal's going to check it. But, you know, you want to make sure that you're showing up and you've gone through this process. Just so that, you know, when we get there, it's streamlined, what have you. But, you know, you want an idea as to what you're going to be, you know, showing up with.
Yep. This gives you an idea as well about where you're going to start in the standings. So, this truck right here pointed out today at minus 43 points. 43 points. Oh yeah. That's awesome.
Yep.
So,
and what's my maximum?
60.
60. So, you know, I probably have a little bit of work. I can probably do a few things to max it out. I'll get as close as I can, and I know that, you know, we need to show up, you know, at or near minus 60. Again, there's a bit of give and take based on, as we discussed, how competitive you want to be and how scale you want to be, and that balance. And that's where I'm at. I'm at a minus 43. A few things here and there. Get a few more minus points, and away we go.
So, let's take 2 seconds and just really quickly go through the major differences between Class 1 and Class 2 with these two rigs.
Yeah.
Okay? So, we'll start off with the simple stuff. The first thing that separates Class 1 and Class 2 is tire diameter, not rim or whatever. You can have a 1.9 or a 155 on either one of these Class 1 or Class 2, and it isn't going to matter. What matters is the spec on the tire diameter. This is a Dick K. Peck Fun Country tire, okay, brand new from RC 4-wheel drive.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It's a 1.9 tire on a 1.9 rim. This tire has an outside diameter spec of 3.95. Okay, that's the spec that they're going to use to check whether it's Class 1, Class 2. The maximum tire size in Class 1 is 4.19. Read it right there. Class 1 max 4.19. This tire is a 4.19 tire. So this is the maximum tire diameter size that's legal on a Class 1 truck. Now my Pitbull's obviously, my Pitbull Rock Beast is bigger than that. I think it's 438, 435 or something, I forget. But it's bigger than 419, so I cannot use this tire in Class 1. That automatically kicks my truck into Class 2, just because of the tire. Right? In reality, it doesn't look like it's that much bigger, but the spec on the tire is what matters, and this is a Class 2 rig just because of that. Yep.
Now, you know, if we want to just sort of go at 1,000 feet, a general description, you know, this is the vehicle that I could theoretically drive to the competition. It's a street drive to work and then drive to the competition. That's the look and feel of Scale 1, whereas Scale 2, if you know, is a little bit more, you know, modified, not necessarily plated, a little bit more capable, that kind of thing.
So a Class 2 truck is probably going to be trailered. It might still be plated, but you may have some issues with legality on the road. You know,
more purpose built.
More purpose built. A Class 2 truck does not have to have bumpers wider than the frame. Which Class 1 does have to have them all the way to the window pillar. Both trucks have to have a length of solid frame, which includes bumpers, 3 inches longer than the wheelbase. That's pretty easy, actually. But that means you can't stick the tire all the way out, you know, sticking out past so you have no clearance. So, in your case, you've got the tires really close to the front, but you've got a little more overhang in the back. So, when you add up the difference between here and here, and the wheel and the tail, you're still over 3 inches.
It adds up.
It adds up to over 3 inches bigger than the wheelbase, so then you're fine.
What about width?
Big change between Class 1 and Class 2 here, because in Class 1 you must have at least half of the tread covered by a fender.
Which I just squeak in, I think.
And you just squeak it in. The body narrows a little in the front of this. In the back it's a little more obvious that that it's covering the wheel. But that will change the type of rim that you purchase. It'll change the type of tire that you want to buy, because you must have half of your tread under the fender. Must have for Class 1. That means sometimes you got to put a little rubber around the outside here to give your fender a little bit of a wider grip on your tire.
Or you can buy fender flares to sort of achieve
Flares.
that. Absolutely, yeah.
Or get rims that are offset closer in.
Yep.
But you must have half your tire under the fender for Class 1. On Class 2, you do not. In this truck, I do have it.
Yep.
This is, if I change the tires on this is actually Class 1 legal, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But this tire is nice and big, so this puts it into Class 2. But now, let's say for instance that I was going to use my white body. You see my white shell has absolutely no fender on it whatsoever, and the tire on the white shell sticks completely out of the body like this. I mean, there's absolutely no fender coverage on this body because the fenders are cut off. It's still Class 2 legal. I do not need to have fender coverage for Class 2. I have to have fender coverage on Class 1.
Yeah.
So, that's a consideration when you're building your rig, because you can set it up for the class. You can kick yourself out of Class 1 pretty fast.
Sure.
By picking the wrong rim, or by picking the wrong tire, or by not building big enough bumpers.
Yeah.
You know, simple stuff like that. And so what would happen, let's just say you wanted to put pit bulls on this truck.
Okay.
Because you were really happy with a pit bull tire. You wanted a pit bull on here so bad to run it in the competition, and you just grabbed these and dropped them on. When you go to score, what do you have to score the truck as?
Class 2, wouldn't I?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
This is a Class 1 truck right now, but as soon as you put the bigger tire diameter, it's out.
Again, give and take, right?
Give and take.
I mean, this tire theoretically has a little bit wider footprint, of course. Probably, well, most definitely action, more capable. Yet, you know, this not quite as capable, a little bit more scale, in my opinion.
Yep.
But that's the give and take, right? And so, you know, again, you just sort of pick something that works, but don't necessarily put yourself into a different class based on the tire you've purchased if you don't want to be in that class.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make sure you pay attention to that for doing your build.
Mm-hmm.
So, can I run this truck in Class 1? Yes, I can, because I have lots of fender coverage. And if Dana and I did a tire swap, I can drop this truck down to Class 1 with a tire swap because I left the fenders on it.
Right.
I've got wide bumpers in the front and back.
Right.
This truck will qualify as a Class 1 build.
Yeah.
So, keep that stuff in mind when you're scoring, when you're building your trucks. And are you excited?
I'm excited.
I mean, East Coast Scale Challenge is less than 2 weeks away for
Yeah.
us. We're leaving. And I just can hardly wait. You guys make sure you come and visit us at the GCM tent.
Please.
And we'll be happy to show off all the rigs. You can have a look at our setups. We'll try to give you guys a hand putting your trucks together, giving you ideas for scoring and how to set up interiors and doing some custom work like that. This guy's got lots of ideas on build techniques, and I'm really happy to help out with suspension setups and stuff if you need help with that. So come on over and visit us, guys. Score up your rigs, and if you have any questions, post in the comments below. We got less than 2 weeks, so get on it. And the links are below for all the stuff in this video and for score sheets for you. And we look forward to seeing you guys down at the tent.
Yeah, sure do. I'm excited. This is going to be quite the event. And again, round 2 for us. So, you know, there's going to be lots there, lots to see, lots to do. So here we go.
I just ran this truck in my shakedown video.
Yep.
So you can see I'm spreading dirt all over the table here.
It's a good thing.
Oh yeah, this was lots of fun. Link below for that video.
Yeah.
And go test out your rigs, guys. Get all your final stuff done. The competition is upon us soon.
You bet.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helps out. If you have questions, comment, share, like, subscribe, and we'll be seeing you at East Coast Scale Challenge in under 2 weeks. Cheers.